Hey guys, welcome to the Something About Tuesdays podcast. I'm your host, Phoebe Joy. Join me every other Tuesday for a lighthearted podcast to keep you company while you do your thing. Hey guys, welcome back to Something About Tuesdays, episode 39. I'm your host, Phoebe Joy, and hi, hey, and welcome. Hey everyone, y'all, you guys. Okay, first off, I hope you guys have had an amazing last couple of weeks as always. I hope it's been really good for you. And then let's just jump right in. Okay. So school has started. Do I want to start with school? Yeah, I got to start with school. I was going to start with the concert because technically I did the concert before school. And for the most part I try to go in chronological order. But let's start with school, and then we can go into the high note of the concert. So you guys, all right. So school started last week. So as of today's Saturday before the episode comes out, we've been in school for 7 days. As teachers, we've been back for 2 weeks. And like I said, I think last episode, I had did 2 days of the kindergarten screening. We did our WIDA screeners and the Brigance. And so technically, I started before then, but teachers came back on Monday and let's start there. So Monday, the first day back, of course, it's different because we have a brand new principal who seemed pretty cool. She just seemed very straightforward and introduced herself and everything, and the day went smooth. I would have to say my favorite part that she did, and I'm sure this wasn't everyone's favorite part, but this is the kind of stuff that I love, secretly love. Sometimes I can't say out loud that I love it because people are like, ugh, why? But it's all the like the community building or the icebreaker stuff. I know some people are not into icebreakers. I love them. Like any opportunity to casually talk with people, or like around something, it's fun. Like I love that stuff and you get to know people. So the first thing that she did that made me so excited was she said on this first day, I would like everyone to wear a shirt that represents either somewhere you have traveled or somewhere you would like to go. And just that already, I was like, yes, well, one, because that gives me an idea of what I can wear, so I don't have to think too hard that day. But also, because I'm curious about other people. Like I'm like, oh, I can't wait to see what other people have done. And so that first day, at the very I think it was at the very beginning when we had to introduce ourselves because we also have quite a few new teachers at my school this year, and so. Everybody got to go around and say where they were and where they've been or where they would like to go. And that was fun. I wore my Scotland shirt. I have a Scotland shirt with the, they're the cows, like the Scottish cows, the little fluffy looking cow things. I have a shirt that has that on it. And so I was like, I went to Scotland last year and it was great. But it was cool hearing like different people's where they've been or where they went recently or where they'd like to go. And I just love that stuff. And that's not too bad. Like, I think most people enjoyed doing that. But then we had another time where we had to line up by our birthdays in order without talking. And so there's, of course, people who are like, oh my gosh, why do we have to do this? I'm like, I love it. Let's do it. Let's go. This is my kind of thing. And so I enjoyed that, being able to do that and interact with other people and be around other people. So that was fun. And then we also had our open house that same day. So even though Monday wasn't a school day, we did invite students to come in, I think for about an hour to meet their teachers and, to meet the new principal and everything. And that went well. I was part of the transportation committee because I don't have my own classroom. I am a teacher who pulls students as the ELD teacher. Then we're part of the transportation team because we don't have to do the heavy lifting of getting that classroom ready, which that is a big deal. Like to get my little corner ready for the most part. Like I got most of it done within an hour. And then, of course, to go through everything takes longer, but I have just a little more time than our homeroom teacher. So we worked as part of the transportation committee, which is just making sure students knew if they were going to be on a bus or a car rider or a walker. And like I said, from the debacle last year where we had it was just wild. The bus situation was so crazy last year to this year. We definitely wanted to make sure we had things right. And I have to say that it's gone so far pretty well. We definitely have a lot of car riders still, which isn't a bad thing. It just makes it long, sort of at the end of the day. And um, but our buses, I'm very excited for our students who do ride the bus because y'all, last year, I mean, we had students getting home so late, um, just as a norm, like every day getting home at 6:30, and that's just normal. And that's terrible. When school is out at 4:20, you don't get home for 2 hours later, like that's miserable. So I think this year, I think most of our students, I feel like, are getting home by 5:30, at least in my specific school, which is so much better than before. It still feels late sometimes, but at the same time, there's traffic, so I can understand, like, if you leave at 4:20, maybe not quite getting home, until 5:30. But that's it is doing better. So thank you, school district. It is going better. It is at the cost and expense of other things, such as not providing transportation for certain schools and magnet programs and things like that. That's a whole thing, y'all. We didn't get into it, but I will say for at least our students, it seems to be going well. So that was good. So that was like the first day or two, is getting ready, getting set up, having meetings, scheduling things, and things like that. Well, then the students come on Thursday, and when they came, they came. And honestly, it wasn't too bad, but the group, usually a group, like a grade stands out to me. The grade that stands out to me this year is kindergarten. I know, kindergarten, I mean, they're the cutest little things, right? And you hear about it and you know it, but this year, y'all, our kindergarten is on a different level. They're a different breed. And maybe it's just because it's the beginning of the year and I've spent a lot more time in kindergarten classroom. I've had to sub a lot this last week, for one of our kindergarten teachers, not just me, but a lot of the ELD teachers. And so just spending time that first week and a half of kindergarten where they haven't learned like routines and procedures and things like that. Whew, when they say it's like herding cats, y'all, they weren't kidding. This is a wild, and they are an interesting group. There are some that are so super cute. And then there are some that you're like, you're so cute, but you're behaving so bad. And then you've got the whole gambit. And I mean, they have stood out to me as the grade. These are the ones. Our first graders, they're doing great. It was our kindergarten last year. Second grader is good. Third, I haven't heard too much. Fourth grade, fourth and fifth grade, they just are what they are, right? Like fourth and fifth grade, if as my preference, what I've taught so far, I've taught K through 3, minus first grade. Fourth and fifth, y'all, they're just not my vibe because they're older. Though, sometimes I'm like, okay, they may not be too bad, but then I do spend time teaching them, and I'm like, well, okay, maybe not. But no, truthfully though, our kindergarten has stood out, and I think this year you might get a lot of kindergarten stories. In fact, okay, let me just throw out a couple. All right, so was it the first day? I think it was the first day. As part of the transportation committee, I have to go around and make sure that each student, in my grade, so I had first grade, has to are tagged correctly on their backpack. There's a tag that lets them know, are they a car rider, walker, or bus rider? And if they ride the bus, what bus number it is. If they're a car, what's their car rider number, etc. And so I was going around checking, and there's one specific kid that I was like, huh, okay, his backpack, it doesn't, like, he has a red tag, which means he's a kindergartner. This is a first grade classroom. So I think he either has the wrong backpack or he was tagged wrong. And mind you, the kids weren't sitting at their seats at this time. I was just checking backpacks for each kid. And I was like, huh, okay, well, I'll make sure to go check that. So this was like 10 a.m., like 11 a.m. So it's still the morning, but a couple hours after school started. Maybe even like 11:30, maybe even 12. Like it was midday, and it was after their lunch. I know that much. And I go back and I'm like, okay, we need to double check this kid's backpack. back, and we need to make sure that we remove the tag if he is our first grader, because this is a kindergarten tag and somehow he got the wrong tag. So I go in there and the kid is now sitting there, and I look, and I'm like, that I don't think that's that kid. Like, I know that kid. Like, I know who that should be because I remember him from kindergarten. I was like, I don't think that's him. I So I go to him and I ask him his name. I'm like, hey, what's your name? And he tells me his name, and it is not who should be in first grade. I was like, I think you're in the wrong room, little guy. And we go and check. And yep, wrong kid, wrong room. It was so funny. And his teacher was like, well, what in the world? Like, I've been calling him the wrong name this whole time. And he's responded like it was fine. And so then I go to the front desk and I'm like, okay, we had the wrong kid in the wrong class. It probably says that he's absent, but he's actually here today. And the other kid's actually absent. So we fixed that. And I took him to his correct class. So I mentioned, and that was just so funny to me. Like, it was half a day he spent in a first grade classroom. He was a kindergartner, but he was doing so good. Like, when I saw him, he was sitting nicely, doing what he was supposed to do. So I was like, good job. Maybe you should be in here. But when I found out who it was supposed to be, his teacher was Mr. Baker. And he's the one I mentioned last week that the little guy was like, are we going to be baking or whatever? So we go outside. And I'm like, okay, well, your teacher's Mr. Baker. They're outside at wellness right now, which is what we call recess these days. And so I take him out there. And as soon as he sees him, he goes running towards him. He's like, my teacher, and gives him the biggest hug. And Mr. Baker looks at him and he hugs him. He's like, who's this guy? And I was like, oh, this is a student. He was just in the wrong classroom. And then, he's like, okay, we'll go off and play, with your friends. And I was like, hey, do you know him? Like, how does he know? He's like, no, we've never met. Like, I don't know this kid at all. And it was just so funny that he was just so excited to see his teacher. Like, I guess maybe he knew he was supposed to have a Mr. Baker, But either way, we, match made. Everything was good. That was just funny that he was in the wrong class. But these kindergartners, we have our K1 and 2 downstairs and our 3, 4, and 5 upstairs. And I tell you what, we catch like a kindergartner or two coming upstairs almost every day in the morning to go to class. And we're like, your class is downstairs. You don't go up the stairs like at all. They are just preciously clueless, basically. So that happened. And then, y'all, this is when I was 7, and this is so, once again, this just lets you know you're in kindergarten. I was taking them outside for wellness, and we're just chilling out there when I see this golden stream, just an arc. And I was like, what is happening? And this little guy, he just, I guess he had to use the restroom, and it didn't matter that we were outside on the playground. He was like, I can just go right here. And I was like, no, put it away. No, we don't use the restroom on the playground. We go inside. And he just finished and kept playing. And I was like, oh my goodness. And I put, brushed some mulch over that area, and was like, oh my gosh, I hope the sun dries this up. Y'all, this is kindergarten this year. And like I said, I think it's just because I'm in there. I was subbing a lot already, I know, but I guess that's just, maybe this is always kindergarten, but y'all, it's gonna be one of them years. So if you hear about kindergarten throughout this year, just know that yeah, from the beginning, from the get-go, they've just been at it. Okay. So that was a few of my school experiences. But y'all, there is nothing like the first week of school tired. Last Friday, I got home about, I guess, 6 maybe, and I ate some food. I had eaten on my way home. I think I had some pizza left over, so I ate pizza on my way home. And then once I got home, I did stop by Homemade Ice Cream and Pie Kitchen and got me some ice cream and banana pudding. But once I got home, I ate the ice cream and laid on the couch. Like, I was eating the ice cream on the couch, and I laid on the couch. And I've been taking naps lately, y'all. I've just been needing them. And I was like, okay, let me take a quick nap. I'll get up in about an hour or two, and then, go do some stuff and then go to bed. You guys, I laid in my bed at 6:30. The cat meowed at me at 7:20, I think, to let him outside. So I think I stumbled into that, and I laid on the couch. I was like, okay, like 20 more minutes. When I say I was knocked out until 11:23, where I just woke up. Like, you know those times where you just wake up and you're like, wait a minute, how long have I been out? Where am I? What just happened? And that's exactly what happened. I was like, wait a minute. I was laying here at like 6:30, 7 o'clock. It is 11:30. Like, what happened to the time in between? Was I really asleep that whole time? Because when I say I did not stir, sometimes you stir and you're like, I could get up now, but I'm not going to. Or, you're just like, y'all, I didn't stir. I don't even know if I moved a muscle. All I remember is going to sleep and then waking up and it's 11:30, 11:23 to be precise, because I looked at my phone and I was like, what is this? And I remember and I was like, this can't be right. Like, I didn't sleep this long. It should be like 8, like maybe 8:30. It is not 11:30. Yeah, it was 11:30. I was like, oh, okay, all right. And apparently my husband just let me sleep. Like, just, I guess he knew I needed it. But I got up and I was like, well, all right then. And so, yeah, so I got up, took my shower, and went back to bed. It did take a little longer to go to sleep, maybe like in the next hour or so. But y'all, that's just first week of school tired. That is what that was. There's nothing quite like it. It's draining, that energy to, deal with those kids, to deal with those kindergartners, with parents and all of that. You guys, I guess I was exhausted. My poor little body, after being extremely restful all summer, was like, man, I don't know if we're back in the groove yet. But anywho, you guys, so we have made it, like I said, the first week and a half of school. I've made it so far. I've been able, because I don't pull kids until probably about a month from now. I, other than, I mean, for like full groups, we help with assessments and things like that. But they kind of put the assessments on hold because we've had to sub. So far I've been able to be a kindergarten teacher, a second grade teacher, a first grade teacher, a PE teacher, and a music teacher in the first week and a half of school. Oh my goodness. So yeah, I think that must be, a slight part of my job description is, to help fill in where needed. So it does definitely give me a variety of areas. But y'all, it's been a week and a half already. Like, whew, yeah, I feel like I just had to get that off my chest. I'm like, we're here. We're a week and a half in. All right. Okay. And it's gone well. I love the fact, and y'all, if you don't do this, get you some friends to do this. So I have friends, we go out to eat on Fridays, on payday Fridays, and we just like debrief and hang out and just talk and chat and get things, just like, kind of like I do with the podcast, but when people talk back to me. And so we were able to do that Friday, and that was nice. And it was just like, everybody had the same sentiment, like, wow, what a week, like what a week and a half. Like, I can't believe we just started and it's already like, tiring. But I do think, once we get into routines, it will feel more natural. Once I think our bodies and minds are ready to be back to this, it will feel natural. I am excited about the year. I do have hope for it. I think it'll be good. I'm hoping it'll be good. So yeah, so that was my first week and a half of school. Just thought I would share that, and how that was going and everything like that. Okay, so what I actually intended to talk to you guys about first was the concert that I was able to go to a couple weeks ago, the Brandon Lake concert. And I have to say, it was Brandon Lake and Phil Wickham, which I knew because it did say on like the little flyer. I even think it might have said Phil Wickham, Brandon Lake. I'm not sure, but I knew it was both of them. But for whatever reason, my brain was like, it's a Brandon Lake concert. Like, it's just Brandon Lake with maybe Phil Wickham, singing something. I don't know. Because I'm not a huge Phil Wickham listener. I know maybe like one of his, I probably know multiple of his songs, but as far as like songs that I would choose to listen to on my phone and stuff, it's generally not Phil Wickham. Other than he does have, what song is it? Till I Found You. That's a good one. Okay, go listen to that. Great little groovy beat. Really good. But anyway, so it was a Brandon Lake and Phil Wickham concert. And I say this because they both sang almost an equal amount of songs, with, I think, Phil singing a little more, which was a little disappointing because I love my Brandon Lake, right? He's the one that I wanted to hear the most. And it was so funny because when they were singing the very first song, it was Brandon Lake's song. So I was like, yes. yes, like it's already starting out strong. We're doing it. And it would be Brandon Lake and then Phil Wickham. And I was like, okay. And it was funny because like his song came on and I didn't quite recognize it. So I sat down because, we were standing for the Brandon Lake song. And my friend that I was with, Emily, she was like, are you just going to sit down for the Phil Wickham songs? And I was like, I just might. Not out of disrespect, but just, because I can't stand for the next 2.5 hours. But so like when I take my break, it might be during a Phil song. But before I get ahead of myself, I want to say anytime you're going to do a concert, you got to go with the right people. And I say that because I went with the right person. So my friend Emmers, we decided to go to the concert and we brought her kids along and which are 14 and 11, I believe. So they're excited. It's, a great Christian concert. And so we decided to go out to eat before the concert. We went to the Old Spaghetti Factory, and luckily my friend made reservations and we were able to get in because it was packed and because it was very close to the venue. And so I think, people had the same idea, a couple hours before the concert, let's get some food and then let's just walk, to the concert. Which, yeah, uh, it was very packed. Oh, which reminds me, remember last time when I was talking about the comedy guy and I was like, if you can find street park and do it, we did it again. I did have to pay $5 because it would be in an hour, I think, until it was free parking on the street, but we did it and we saved ourselves like $25. It was ridiculous in parking. We did have to walk like 2 blocks, but then when you get out of concerts, like there's so many people walking, like you're not by yourself. But anywho, so we went and we got some food at the Oat Spaghetti Factory, which was all right. It was expensive, I think, for what it was, but I did get something different. I can't remember what it was now because it's been a couple weeks ago. I think it was a some type of tortellini because I do like tortellini. Maybe a spinach and chicken. I don't think it was chicken. Maybe it was chicken tortellini with cheese. Anyway, it was good. It was great. But yeah, so I say that I went with the right person because when we go to the concert's about to start, or this is when the concert is starting, and my friend is like standing up, like waving her hands, like already getting into it. And I was like, oh yeah, like this is how you're supposed to do a concert. Like you're not supposed to just sit and chillax and just pretend that it's something that you're watching, like watching on your phone, right? No, it's something you're supposed to interact with. And I knew that, but like seeing my friend do that was like, okay, this is good. Like, okay, like, cause there might be some people who could. Honestly, I was so tired that I could have been, yeah, I know I've been so tired lately, but I was so tired that I could have been, like the person who just sat down and like, well, let me just enjoy the concert. Let me just listen. But because of her energy, I was like, this is how it should be. So I would stand up and like wave my hands and clap. And she was so fun and so cool. And it was just great. So I loved being with her there. And when I say like she lasted the whole concert, like stood up probably at least 85% of the concert and was just like waving her hands and cheering and singing along. I loved it. And I was like, this is perfect. Like this is the person you want to go with for this kind of stuff. It was so great. And her kids were great too. And they were getting into it. And I didn't realize the importance of merch until I, saw how her daughter responded to merch and how she so wanted to have a t-shirt from that concert. In fact, when we got there maybe about 15 minutes early before the concert started. And she was like, her daughter was please like, can we please get a t-shirt for today? Like I want a merch. And we're like, we can go after. No, I want to wear it at the concert. Can we please? And we're like, it's going to start in 15 minutes. And she was like, come on. And that teenage kind of like, oh, please. And so finally my friend was like, okay, and I was like, I can go take her, you can stay here with the youngest and I'll go, well, second youngest, and I'll go take her and it'll be fine. She's like, okay, well, thank you. So we went and she was so excited to get her merch and was like, can I go change right away? I was like, of course. And so she went to go change into her t-shirt. But it was just funny, like and obviously a lot of people buy merch and I guess I'm not one of those who does. Maybe I should maybe start keeping track of different things that I go to by buying merch. But so she did buy the merch and was so excited. So I was like, okay, like merch is a thing at concerts. Like maybe you should buy the merch, buy the t-shirt. But I will say, I mean, the t-shirt was like $44 per shirt. So that was kind of rough. Not for me because I didn't buy one, but for my friend who had to buy two for each kid. But yeah, so that was fun. It was cute. Like I was like, yes, okay, like I can understand wanting some merch. But another thing, going to a concert, I don't know if I just never thought about it or anything like that, but it was older people surprise me at concerts. Like there are some older people there, and I'm like, huh. And I know that it's not that older people don't enjoy music. Like I know they do. Like duh, everybody enjoys music. But to see like older people there and getting into it, I sat next to this older lady and she would sing some of it. I think she was more there for Phil Wickham than my Brandon Lake. But she would sing and get into it. And she'd stand up sometimes and she would sit, but like just she was older and I was just surprised to see her there. I was like, oh look, there's like old people here. Not in the nicest way, but like, there's actually older people here who are at a concert to enjoy it, something that I think would be more like the younger crowd, I guess. But it was actually a very good concert. It was packed of old, young, I mean, all kind of age ranges. It was very, very full. Now where we were sitting, we were pretty far back, which we thought we'd be like midway back. Like we were like, okay, we're not in the very back, but when I say the very back was like a stone's throw away, it was. So we were pretty far back, almost to like where looking down was a little like, ooh, like if you were scared of heights, that might be a little bit, a little freaky. Um, but it was still obviously still a good concert and it was still fun, even from very, very far back. And a couple of things that I noted while, at this concert was that, okay, one, seeing people's phones, like it's very easy to see. Like if someone is on their phone, it just lights up because the whole place is dark. And so if you're on your phone doing anything or whatever it is, anybody and everybody can see it. And like legit, anybody and everybody can see it. And there was this one lady, this girl, I would say, she was probably like between the ages of 18 and 22. And she would, throughout most of the concert, and I guess this is like a young person thing, but she had her phone where I guess she was maybe doing like a live thing stream or like recording herself, but recording like herself kind of responding to the concert. Like if she was like recording herself singing along and recording herself, like getting into it, and then sometimes she had her boyfriend record her. It was just a lot, and I was like, oh, okay. And then I saw her like texting someone. I would look, y'all. I wasn't trying to look, but when it's so dark and people's screens are around, you just kind of see things. But yeah, you can see all kinds of phones. So I was just like, oh, it's really obvious to see phones. Now, the concert did have this really cool part where everybody had these plastic bracelets and they didn't do anything until it was time for the concert. And then they would light up to the different, like with the same light or different lights to different songs, to the different beats. It's kind of hard to describe, but it was really cool. Like all of a sudden the beat is like, let's just say doom, 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 doom. And then like everybody's little bracelets going off at the same time, doom, 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 doom with a light. And it was so cool. It made a fun little concert. Like I was like, oh, these are awesome. I didn't even know that was a thing, but I liked it. So I thought that was pretty nifty. But yeah. So another thing though that I noticed is that even at concerts, mics need to go up. One thing I kept saying, and I was whispering to my friend, and I was telling this, I'm like, I need his mic to be louder. Like, I need, when he hits those high notes to just, I said, I think it needs to just blow me away. Like, I just needed to, like, whoa, blow me back. His microphone, I would have to say the music felt louder than what I could hear him sing. And I don't know if that's just because we were sitting so high up, but I was like, okay, it's kind of good to know that this is obviously a problem that happens everywhere. Like, this is just a thing, like that sometimes the music is going to be louder than the microphones. And then another thing that I noticed is sometimes the words on the screen are wrong. Yeah, I saw them fumble the words on the screen, maybe like once or twice. But I was like, okay, even at a professional concert, with supposedly all these professional people who know exactly what they're doing, like mistakes can still be made. So like when things like that happen, just like at your regular home church or stuff like that, look, apparently it's just a thing everywhere. So it's not a big deal. And so I did think that was funny. I was like, oh my goodness, like when it comes to like media and sound and things or whatever, it's across the board. Which I'm not talking bad about our sound team by any means. We have a great sound team and a great media team. My sister is actually on the media team. She is part of the lights. Yay, go sister. So please don't say that. But I do know we've had moments where we're like, oh, what's going on here? And it's just, it just is what it is sometimes, just like when you're a singer and maybe you hit the note or when your voice cracks. You guys, that happened to me the other day. I was singing something and my voice just did a little crack. I mean, I don't know that everybody noticed it, but I did. And I was like, huh, okay. But yeah, so that was great. I will say, being in that venue, like I mentioned earlier, there were so many people there. You know how, like, after COVID, you just become more conscious of like how many people are around you. I don't know if that's you, but that's me. I'm not super like I wouldn't say negatively affected by it. Like, I don't feel like I don't want to be around people because of that, but I feel like I'm definitely more aware. And I was just like, there are so many people here. And I was like, man, we're all just breathing the same air. I was like, this is kind of interesting. And the lady next to me, and maybe I thought about it too, because the lady next to me kept coughing. And a couple of times she did like cough on my arm, like she didn't mean to at all, but like there was a couple times I just felt it and I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm gonna be sick. And I was like, but that's the thing, like if there's one person sick in this building, like all of us are getting it, because there's just so many people and we're all jam packed in this really big space, but we're all breathing that same air, you guys. And I'm telling you what, ever since COVID, it's just like I'm just aware, or at least I think about it more. Like I said, it doesn't necessarily change my behavior. It didn't stop me from going to the concert by any means, but that is something that I did notice. And also, last thing, you guys, and this is anywhere. You guys, there was a lemonade. I got some lemonade. It was $6 for some lemonade. I was like, okay, just for a regular bottle. And I would have got water because I was feeling thirsty. This was towards the end of the concert, but the water was $5.50 and the bottle of lemonade was $6. And I was like, okay, like I can't pay $5 for some water. Like that's pushing it. Like I was like, but I don't want to pay $6 for some lemonade, but at least I feel like, I'm getting a little something, something for my money versus like I could just go find a water fountain and be fine. But yeah, so of course things are expensive, anywhere you go, but especially at a concert. But like I said, it was a fantastic concert. They sounded so good live. They were personable. You know how they talk in between or like share stories and stuff. They had good kind of breaks in between. It wasn't all straight music. It was really good. So if you have Brandon Lake or Phil Wickham coming to a city near you, feel free to go to that concert because it was a very nice one. And it did make me be like, you know what? I think I want to go to another one again at some point. Maybe not like theirs, but just another concert. That would be pretty awesome. I think Maverick City is going to be coming near to us, and for King and Country, and those might be some good ones to go to. But that was the concert. Loved it. Thank you, Immers, for going with me and for helping to manage all of that as far as like the tickets and food and reservations and everything. Yeah, that was a blast. So, other random thoughts that I've had in the last 2 weeks. Like I said, not too much has been going on other than school. And after school, you guys, like legit, I get home and I just want to sleep. Like, so I usually like come home, eat dinner, and like get ready for bed. It's ridiculous. But thoughts that I've had. Well, first off, I wanted to say that I was proud because while school has started, I still want to try to continue to cook some. It's easier to do in the summer, when I'm not working. And definitely harder to do when I just want to come home, eat, and sleep. But something that I made the other day, I think I made it 2 Sundays ago. I think it was pot roast in the crock pot. And I might have mentioned this last year because I think I've made it before. But last time I made it with with a seasoning packet, and this time we did not have a seasoning packet. So I was like, okay, I got to figure out how to season this on my own. So I looked up a couple things, and they're like, just pretty much season it how you want to. And I was like, okay, let's do this. So I got the pot roast, and I chopped up some carrots and chopped up some potatoes and chopped up some onions, and I put it in there in the crock pot. And then I was like, let's go to town with these seasonings. So I added, of course, salt and pepper. I added, I think, nature seasoning. I think I added seasoned salt. I added maybe garlic salt, onion powder, something, one of those things. And then to make things fun, because I read somewhere in the recipe, I added Italian seasoning, which y'all made. We're going to talk about that in a second. And then I added minced garlic because that was part of some other one. And I was like, sure, why not? And and I don't even know what else. And then beef broth, which luckily we had. So I poured that in there with a couple of beef bouillon cubes because I was like, I mean, that can only help it, right? Okay. So I let this thing cook for about, I would probably say like almost, I don't want to say 24 hours, but I had it cook overnight because my husband was like, well, if it's done in the morning, I can take it for lunch. So I started it at like 11 p.m. And about 8 a.m., I checked it and I was like, I feel like it's not done. Like I want it like super soft and stuff. And I had it cooked, it was on low, I mean, I think it could have been considered done. My mom was like, it probably was done. But I was like, we want to cook it longer. And so we didn't eat it again until that evening. And so it stayed in the crock pot until about 5 or 6. So it was in the crock pot from like 11 p.m. to like 6 p.m. So it was in there quite a bit. But nothing tasted bad. Everything was still good. I was worried my carrots and potatoes would be mushy, but they were not. And the meat was good and nice and tender. So I got my bowl and I was like, okay, let me try this. And I tried it and y'all, it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad at all. But like if I was a professional chef person, like a judge saying something, I'd be like, this isn't bad, but it has no direction. When I say the flavors had zero direction, like I was like, okay, I've got a hint of, I think that Italian seasoning that was one. But then I was like, okay, but I also have like just your regular beef seasoning. Like, okay, okay, I can see that. And then a bit of salt. Like it was just hilarious. Like it wasn't terrible by any means. Like I said, we ate it all. We ate on that, y'all, for like 2 weeks. This whole last week and a half of school. But I told husband, I was like, you probably want to add maybe some barbecue sauce or some gravy to like pull it towards a certain flavor. Because right now there's a mixture of flavors that don't necessarily go bad together, but you can just tell that they're interesting. And maybe with an additional flavor, it would be pulled more in one direction than the other. So anywho, it was, like I said, it wasn't bad. I was just experimenting. And I think next time, maybe I would let go of the Italian part. Like, I don't know why I put Italian there because I don't think about Italian when it came to pot roast, but it was because I saw that one recipe on Pinterest and I was like, surely they know what they're talking about, which I mean, they sure enough probably did, but it's certainly made for a diverse tasting pot roast. But like I said, it was very good and I was quite proud of that. But another thing I've been feeling lately, and I haven't made any yet, but I've been feeling the soups. You guys, I'm trying not to talk about fall because we're not there yet. Fall's all the way in September. We're still mid-August. Like, I can't talk fall yet. It's still hot. In fact, today was, I think, 90, maybe 91. It was up there. 90, 91 degrees today outside. Like, if I talk fall, I'm just gonna yearn for it and want it and then just be done, right? Like I gotta take the seasons as they are. And so I'm trying to enjoy summer even in this heat that came back. I think last episode I was like, oh, it's cooled down some. Y'all went right back up. Here we are. But I've been seeing on Facebook and all my little ads, sometimes the algorithms get you. Well, lately my algorithm has been food. And I think it's because it knows that I've been trying different kinds of food and trying to cook more, especially easy stuff. But it's showing me soups and they are all looking so good. I mean, like potato soups, my zuppa toscana, cheesy chicken and noodle soup. I was like, I need this. And I was like, you know what I need? I need a potluck because I want all these soups at one time. I was like, I need to organize a soup potluck at my school. And y'all think I'm playing. I might have to do this. We usually do a potluck, I guess, around Thanksgiving. I suppose I can't make it just soup related because if it's around Thanksgiving, that may not be the best. But if we can make it some type of fall, like I think that would just be so much fun because I love soups. I love different kinds of soups and different people's soups. Could you imagine like if there was a soup potluck, how yummy that would be? Like that just, and you just get a little bowl and you just try the different soups. Ugh. Anyway, y'all, that might be something I have to do. Okay. I'll keep you posted if I do end up asking if we can have a soup potluck because that sounds right up my alley. But yeah, so I've been seeing that. So I'm wanting to try some more soups. Once again, throw out. I always say, y'all, give me ideas and suggestions for easy food. I love it. And by easy, I mean like ingredients don't have to measure too much. I like stuff that you're like, okay, put the whole can of that in there, put the whole bag of that in there, sprinkle some stuff on there and put a spoon of that in there. Like that's how I like my directions to be. And y'all, I had the recipes that are like, okay, in this container mix this, and then that container mix that, and then that container mix. Whew. I mean, once we get past 2 different containers, I'm kind of like, I don't know. But anywho, so I am getting excited about soups. I know I'm not talking fall. I'm just saying that I am starting to get excited about soup season. And okay, I mentioned, I don't know when I mentioned, I know I have on the podcast that I am part of a food group for my city. Like it talks about, different restaurants and things, and it's a lot of posting. Well, someone posted a picture of a pickle sandwich. And I don't mean like 2 pieces of bread with pickles in between it. I mean like picture the pickles as the bread. So imagine this like massive pickle, because these pickle chunks are huge, with like the inside slightly carved out. Imagine a massive pickle, cut it in half, long ways, hot dog style, and kind of carve out a little bit of the middle on both sides, and then stuff it with like turkey meat or whatever sandwich meat, lunch meat you want. I think they might have had lettuce, cheese, whatever, and then put the 2 pickle pieces back together. Like there is no bread. Your bread is the pickle. And I'm like, that well, first of all, I can't eat pickles that hard. I do enjoy pickles, definitely I do, but I don't know, that would be such a big pickle flavor. That's like for those people who like pickle juice, which when I was a kid I did, but those people who can like legit like drink pickle juice, or who can freeze the pickle juice and lick on that in the summer. I know some people like that. Like this sounds like their kind of sandwich. And like I said, I don't think I could ever try it. One, because that would be a very strong pickle taste. But 2, also, y'all, my teeth, and this is just a whole nother journey of, of me. I have like probably 2 on each side. I'm assuming they're probably cavities or something. But my teeth feel very sensitive to cold. And so like just picturing biting into a cold pickle, I can just feel like, ooh, like it just going through me and not being good. Now, if it wasn't for that, I might be even more likely to try it, because even though pickles are sour and I'm sure my face would be all kinds of twisted, the idea of it sounds kind of interesting. Like I'm not 100% against it. I was very surprised that I was like, you know what? As weird and odd as that sounds and looks, it probably could taste good. I don't know. I have no idea. So if you ever try it, holler at me, let me know. If how good is it, or if it is way too much pickle flavor. I do think it probably would be too much pickle flavor, but maybe if you pack that meat in there, maybe that'll help balance it some. But for those of you who like really like pickle, then it might be perfect. I don't know. But anyway, so I noticed that I think that's all. Look, I think that's all my food stuff. I try to like somewhat organize the things that I've written down, and those are just my kind of food thoughts, food of the week or whatever, that I have. But other things that I've noticed is lately I've been on my phone doing all my searches in private mode, and I don't know why. Like I started it in private mode because I'm like, okay, I don't need this to save in my Google. Like I don't need just I don't need this on my like account just to stay. Not that I'm looking up anything crazy, y'all. But just anything I look up, I'm like, okay, I just need this for the moment. I don't need to hang on to it. But like now almost everything, I'll be looking up almost anything and it's in private mode. And I think my brain is like, I don't want them to keep my information. I don't know if I'm just like trying to rebel against the AI. Like, I don't know. Like, of course, they still know. Like, maybe I can't see it or whoever gets my phone can't see it, but it's saved somewhere. Trust me. But I think a part of me is like, no, like, I refuse to let you know, because the other thing is I get concerned that when I search for things, like if I Google something not in private mode, that all of a sudden I'll start seeing those things in like my news feeds, like on Facebook or Instagram. And I'm like, sometimes I don't need the extra advertising, like whatever it is. I don't need you. If I'm looking up, okay, what does this medication do or whatever? I all of a sudden don't need medication ads or health ads, or what's this specific type of food? All of a sudden I already have these food ads, but I don't need that extra stuff. And so I've been doing a lot of stuff in private mode. And so that got me thinking, like, I wonder if there are people who like private mode only, like just put everything in private mode, even when you log into things, because truthfully, when you log into stuff in private mode, I mean, it's still if you have your username and password saved on your phone, it'll still do it. Like you'll just log in, like normal. It just won't save it as if you were in just your regular mode. And so I'm like, I don't know. Like I have no idea. I'm trying to see if I'm going to transition back to using the other one, which I don't even know what the other one's called. There's privacy mode, and then I guess there's just your regular tabs, like just whatever is open. But I just noticed that. I've been noticing that like everything I've been doing has been in privacy mode. I'll have like 20 tabs going in privacy mode and like 2 or 3 in the other one. And like I said, I don't know if it's just because I feel like, oh no, rebel against the AI or whatever. Um, but yeah, y'all, when it comes to I don't know how I feel about it. I'm not like against it in any way. I do think it's got some very interesting implications. And I do think we're going to have some interesting questions, I think, to answer on how we want to use it and deal with it in the future, such as, like AI generated writing and AI generated just things, like how it can create an email for you. Like, where are we going to find that line between genuine, human interaction versus AI generated interaction? Like, I don't know. Like, it's so interesting. And the same with like music, like AI generated music or responses to things and versus just, the human response or human music. Like, I don't know. It's so interesting. I think AI can do so much. But I'm also curious, like, how far are we going to let it go before we're like, okay, that's too much, Like, think about, like, okay, it's election year, and y'all, we ain't going to get into that, like, hardly ever, okay? But think about what if, AI created the presidential speech or something. Is that so different than a writer creating the speech? In my brain, it is. Like, I think you still need the human element, but what if, the AI could create this really compassionate and argumentative, like in a good way, or just a call to action type speech that maybe just was really good compared to maybe what a writer could do. Yeah, I don't know. Like supposedly it can be perfect, So those type of things is just so interesting. It's like, okay, how much are we going to give for the AIs to do, versus human, like what we're going to accept from other humans. I don't know. I think that is a whole interesting other conversation. This is not a technology podcast by any means. But I do think that's just an interesting question, regardless of whatever. Yeah, I just randomly got off on that tangent. But the other thing is, so I'm continuing with PT, and the only note I have about my PT, my physical therapy, is that these physical therapy exercises just let me know that I am weak. You guys, I don't know if you've ever been to physical therapy, but you do exercises and they seem so simple. And yet my little body will be shaking. Okay. I was doing this arm exercise, which they said I need to build my upper body strength in my neck or in my shoulder so that it'll take pressure off my neck. And which one was I doing this time? I think I told y'all last time about the neck one, like lifting my head up and holding it for more than 3 seconds without shaking. So this time I was doing something. It was like either overhead presses or like it was pulling my arm. Oh, I remember. Okay. So imagine you're laying on your back and you have your arms, we'll say straight up in front of you, pulling one of their little bands, like it's like a big rubber band, but a big band taut, so it's got some strain there. And then just lifting your arms above your head and back down. When my arms would go above my head, pulling this little thing taut, my little left arm was shaking, and I was like, you're literally just pulling this rubber band above your head. Like, why are you shaking? And then I did this one exercise with the band as well, where you like kind of pull your arms back and you just literally just pull it back, pulling on that thing. And my little arms were shaking again. And I was like, this just shows me how weak I am. Like, y'all, this is a band. This is a band. Like, how am I shaking? Why are my arms shaking? What is going on? And then I did these little overhead press thingies with some weights. I did 5-pound weights, y'all. And I was like, phew. Anyway, so yes, that is my thought with physical therapy. It is going well. I do enjoy doing the exercises. I need to definitely get better at actually doing them at home. I'll find myself doing like maybe one a day, like the easy ones, like when I'm sitting down, or if I'm laying down, doing the ones that I'm laying down. It's very hard for me to set a routine because I think I'm supposed to do them like 3 or 4 times a day. And y'all, like I said, I got to come up with something. I need either put an alarm or something because they're not, like I said, they're not difficult ones. But I do think if I did them consistently enough, it would make a difference. And I am kind of curious about how long my physical therapy will be. I know the first time I was there, she was like, we'll do twice a week for the first couple weeks, and then we'll switch to once a week for a little bit, and then we'll be done. And I was like, okay. And so we're to the once a week. And I'm just like, I wonder if we have one scheduled, I think, for this week, but I don't know if we have any more scheduled. And I assume she's probably going to want some more. So I wonder how many more. Now, that being said, I'm also having to copay like every other time, I think. And I don't know how I feel about that because I'm like, oh, okay. Like once I have all these exercises, I don't know that I feel like paying a copay every time just to go do it. It's like I'm paying this much money to do it. But at the same time, it is making me do it, so maybe it's worth it, y'all, I don't know. Anywho, so physical therapy is still going well. My neck, I think, is doing a little better. It's still definitely it's still got some strains, y'all. Like I'm working on it. We're gonna see. It's still a little bit achy, but I do think these physical exercises are going well, and I, like I said, I will continue at least for the next week or two, and let y'all know how it continues to go. Not that it's so interesting, but it is kind of funny to try and do. And I don't know if I mentioned last time, but I actually ran into a coworker at the last physical therapy session, and I was like, oh, hey, look. And so that was kind of interesting too. So you see all kinds of people there. I see, like, so far I've seen mostly older people. But I did see like a young lady who had her like foot in a cast. And so sometimes I do wonder, I'm like, I wonder why, what brings them here. And usually, honestly, if you eavesdrop a little bit, you can kind of hear, I twisted my ankle here. But there's this one guy, I kind of want to know why he's there. He was kind of like loud and outgoing. And he was an older guy, and he was talking about how he likes to get up early and he wakes up latest 4 a.m. every day. And I'm like, oh my goodness. And he was just doing kind of like walking exercises. I think he might have had like a walker or a cane, or he wasn't walking quite straight. So yeah, like it's interesting, like this world of physical therapy, like just to see other people, just to see, like I said, the pretty basic exercises that are doing, but I guess the physical therapist has the knowledge to be able to target, those specific areas. So that's pretty cool. Like any any kind of life experiences like that I think that's outside of the normal realm is always a little interesting to me, but it is going well overall. I think I like it. I do, other than, like I said, it's telling me just how weak I am. It is going well, and we'll see how much longer we'll have to do this. But yeah, so I do want to wrap up with one last thought, and that is, so I often mention a podcast that I listen to called the Ghost Runners podcast, and it's a Christian based podcast with two guys who talk about just life in general, kind of like this podcast, but there's two guys and they have a conversation. I would love to have a co-host, but until then, it's just you and me. But no, so they just talk about life and things like that, but and not about ghosts. It's called Ghost Runners for some reason. Like I think they explain it in one. It's kind of like mine, something about Tuesdays. You're like, okay, no, what's that? It's not given in the name. But another podcast that I listen to, yeah, I was shouting out that podcast, but the one I actually want to talk about is one called Net Positive. And that is with a comedian called John Christ. And if you know anything about him, he's been through some stuff, getting out of things, doing, what he can do, or whatever. And he seems cool. He's chill now, making his way up. But the point of this isn't necessarily who he is or what his podcast is, but just the title of his podcast and why he titled it that. And like, just a story, well, not a story, but like he was expressing himself. He was expressing some thoughts at the end of this last podcast, just thoughts from his heart. And he was basically saying, that in life, everybody has to deal with two voices. There's the voice of the enemy, or whatever you want to call him, is what he said. That's like, oh, nobody cares about you, or this isn't good, or this is all going to go bad, and blah, blah, blah. Just all the negative that, we know that that voice exists. And sometimes that voice is us, right? We can blame it on the devil as much as we want to, but sometimes that voice is even just us. And then he was talking about how, of course, you have the other voice, the voice of God, the voice of encouragement, the voice of hope and peace and things. And he was just saying, basically trying to encourage people to listen to that positive voice, right? And to let people know that they're not alone in hearing, two voices. They're not alone in feeling like, okay, sometimes I don't feel like I'm good enough or whatever. I'm feeling that negativity. And he's like, I think that was the point he was making. It's like, you're not alone, whatever. Um, and it's like you can buy into that positive voice. And so that I liked hearing that. I think that was so precious. And I loved how he said that he wanted to use this platform to kind of get that message out so people won't feel alone and won't feel like they need to take drastic measures or anything like that. And so I appreciated that. But I was reminded when he was talking about that he had mentioned the purpose of his podcast called Net Positive, about how, not everything, I think he meant it jokingly, like, of course, maybe not everything in this episode and the episodes will always be just wonderful, but on the net, it'll be a positive. Right. And I just love that idea because I thought about it. I was just like, you know what, in life, there's going to be bad and good. This is a concept that's been on my heart literally all year. I spoke on it at our ladies thing. I think I might have even mentioned it on this podcast when I talked about the palm and the willow. But in life, there's going to be bad and there's going to be good. It just is what it is. Right. But on the net, but when it's all said and done, it can be a positive. Like, it's a positive, I was like, okay. And I like that because it's not trying to negate, like erase the negative. It's not saying the negative doesn't exist. It's not saying the negative doesn't have an impact, because it does. If you've ever been through pain or hurt or anything, then that has an impact. It just does. But it is saying that when the dust settles, when it's all said and done, we can still land on a positive, right? It can still be on the net. It can still be a positive. We can still be in the plus, the most depressing thing ever. When you look at your gross income, right? And then you see the taxes come out and you're like, oh my gosh. And then you see your net, but hey, on the net, it's a positive. You still got a little money, right? Like, even though so much money went out, you still got a little money left over. And so I was just thinking about that in life, just in general, yeah, sometimes bad days happen. Like, even when I think about this first week and a half of school, not everything was wonderful and hunky dory. Of course not. But on the net, it's been a positive. Like, it's been okay. Like, I'm leaving the week and a half being like, hey, we did our best and it didn't get the best of us. We made it. We're here. On the net, it's a positive. Like, I still have hope for the year. I'm still hopeful that it'll be good. And just in general in life. And so I just like that. This isn't necessarily like an endorsement to like, go listen to this podcast or anything, not by any means feel like you have to do that, but just the idea that life can be a net positive, especially if you have God in your life. He's the one that can tilt everything towards that positive in your favor, But anyway, so I wanted to end on that. Next episode, I'm gonna have to tell you guys about my trip to the state fair. It's that time again, y'all. It's August. It's the state fair. So I'll have to let you guys know how that went. But I want to say thank you all so much for listening and for tuning in. I hope you have an amazing next couple of weeks. I'm not going to talk about fall. I'm not doing it. But yes, thank you guys for listening. Feel free to hit me up on Instagram. Leave me a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, anything like that. Yeah, and I'll catch y'all in a couple weeks.